Welcome to Conversations That Make a Difference with your host, Teresa Velardi. We believe that authentic, meaningful, and diverse conversations are the glue that binds us together. Our discussions remind us we have the power to uplift, challenge, stretch, and invite dynamic growth. Are you, like many, feeling like you're flying by the seat of your pants through life? Join us for conversations filled with gratitude, values, abundance, authenticity, and faith. Here's the host of our show, Teresa Velardi.
Hey everyone, and welcome. Thanks for joining me again for Conversations That Make a Difference. My guest today is Debra Graugnard, and everybody who knows me, who's come to the show on a regular basis, knows that we start the show with a prayer. So we're going to say the Serenity prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And it is by God's grace that we are fabulous, blessed, and highly favored, living in our greatness, using our gifts and talents, making a difference in the lives of others with passion and purpose. And all of God's great universe is conspiring in our favor. And together we gratefully say, Amen. So Debra, welcome. Let me just tell everybody a little bit about you. I have your bio in front of me. So Debra Graugnard is author of the book, Fear, Food, and Feminine Power. And that's going to be the center of our conversation today. She's an intuitive spiritual healer, teacher, and a chaplain. She's a longtime body worker, passionate about holistic self-care and spiritual embodiment practices. Debra is the founder of the Community for Conscious Living and host of the Self-Care for the Soul podcast. She developed the step-by-step CARITAS healing process, CARITAS. I'm sure we'll talk about that a little bit too, which combines many disciplines to guide and equip people to truly be the change they wish to see in their world. Debra is especially passionate about helping people to realize how our daily habits and beliefs impact all that exists in this beautiful planet, so we can each make choices that contribute to the sustainable environment and a peaceful world. Debra facilitates transformative programs and retreats online and in person, including the program that accompanies the Fear, Food, and Feminine Power program, Living from Your Sacred Feminine, the CARITAS Journey to Embodied Transformation. Debra, welcome. I'm excited to have this conversation with you.
Thank you, Teresa. I am honored to be here with you.
Thank you so much. I know we've been waiting for this book for a long time.
We sure have.
It's been in the works for a bit longer than you anticipated, but I have a big question to ask you. Why this book? Why Fear, Food, and Feminine Power?
Yes, very good question. So I started the book about 9 years ago. I was teaching a program at the time called Food, Weight, and Feminine Power, which was addressing issues that come up around our compulsive eating and our emotional eating and our issues with body image. And it was really uncovering a lot of deeper issues that were related to trauma and feeling unsafe in the body. And it was so profound. It was really unlocking very deep and poignant things that were coming up for people and really sparking some deep conversations, poignant conversations. And one thing, I just started on that book. And then my father, who is now 103, at that time was 94, he injured himself and needed some help in the home. I moved in with him, come to find out all kinds of stuff was going on. And his doctor said that he had less than a year to live. This would be his last birthday, his last Christmas, blah, blah, blah. Fast forward, I'm still here. He's 103. But, being a full-time caretaker is a lot. It takes a lot. And so I kind of put the book down and I thought, okay, I can't put any focus on that right now. it's still in my heart, but I don't have time or space for it.
Mm-hmm.
And then one of the things that really sparked some of the conversations in the first place was, well, there was two things, right? There was the Me Too movement. And shortly, I think it was after that Me Too movement, a while after that, that the video, I hope it's okay to say it. There were some music videos that came out, as one in particular that was very, very popular at the time, very sexually explicit. And it was by two female rappers. And, and they had the acronym, they had the merch, they had everything going with it. And it was, I think it topped the charts on number of downloads and everything. It was, yes, very sexually explicit. And I went to pick up my nephew's children from school, and a 12-year-old and a 10-year-old got in the back seat and started talking about, I know what this is, and I know what this is. And then they were talking about the music and the songs, and I was just like, whoa, hold on.
Yeah.
We're not having this. We're going to, we're just like, it really, it took me back to what a strong influence media had on me personally in terms of sexual trauma, in terms of feeling unsafe and doing things that I later felt shameful about and regretted, and just this whole thing that is a lot of what this book is unearthing.
Mm-hmm.
Because there was so much in our culture, so much in our media, so much in just, the way we throw around comments and conversations about, about sexual abuse, about sexual exploitation, about sexual exploration, that, it just always raises that question for me about, where does self-responsibility lie with media and their market when they're marketing to our children with a lot of this, the music and the merchandise and everything else. And how does that impact us? How does that affect us? How does that put us into situations that then lead us to feel unsafe, or lead us to experience things that then traumatize us and make us, jolt our nervous system into a state of feeling very unsafe. The name of the book is Fear, Food, Feminine Power. We get in this, if you ask, I've been to Tony Robbins conferences where he asked how many women feel unsafe, and all of the hands go up.
Yeah.
The publisher would only let me put 50% in here because that's what they could find online. I know it's higher than that. When you ask women, how do you struggle with feeling unsafe? The hands go up. And then we self-soothe with food. Yeah. And we're so conditioned by the media voices that say that we're supposed to look this way, dress this way, show off this way, and then we're supposed to have this body that looks a certain way. And I call it in the book, the societal double bind, also known as the virgin whore dichotomy. Yeah. It's, you're damned if you do, and damned if you don't. Yeah. To like really put yourself out there or try to conform to society. And then, you get into, if something bad happens to you, then all of a sudden, oh, well, you were out there being on the whore side of things when you should have been on the virgin side. And now you're shamed into a bottomless pit of, and so then we, it creates a very strong inner conflict. And even if you don't experience it directly, it's so prevalent in our culture and in our media and, all the messaging. And what it really, the feminine power part of it, right? We feel the fear, we self-soothe with food, we wrestle with the body, whether it be through body image, through weight, through health, through, all of the things that we're doing to our bodies. Right. And what we're really being disconnected from and suppressing when we're self-soothing is that true voice, the true power, the sacredness of what the woman is created to be. All of that gets completely lost.
So well said. And what really struck me is in the beginning when you started telling the story about your the children in the back of the car listening to, watching on their devices or whatever, this video that is not meant for that age. Like, where is childhood in this whole thing? And all of the things that you discussed are being implanted into the minds of these very young minds, and the trauma that comes from that. Even just, I would have to imagine that at 10 years old, a video like that would be quite traumatic. Like, what the heck is going on, you know? So that would be quite traumatic as well. So it starts at a very young age. So parents, if you're listening, take responsibility for what you allow your children to watch, first of all, right? Because all of these things, as you said, Debra, all of these things lead places where women, mostly women, I'm sure there are some men who feel unsafe as well, but we're talking about the girls today. And it leads them to places where they may never have gone had it not started at such a young age. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're entrained at a very young age. And if I can, this is not my book. I was actually reading my book to an audio engineer because I'm turning it into an audio book. And the audio engineer recommended this documentary that is called Brainwashed. And it shows how the media, there's actually 5 techniques. It shows 5 techniques that the media uses to entrain the male gaze. So this is brainwashing the men to be that like that jaw on the floor, drooling, awestruck by a sexy woman. And it objectifies the woman's body. And it like wipes out her voice and her power all at the same time. It was an amazing video to really see it pointed out. This is the technique they're using here. These are 5 techniques that they teach how to create films to create this power over dynamic. And it's so subtle or so common. I don't know that it's subtle, but it's so common. It's hard to imagine a film done in another way.
Yeah.
You know, but it entrains us. It entrains the boys and the men as much as the young girls and the women.
Yeah.
And it's all takes us out of the truth of who and what we are.
Yeah. And that's really sad because we don't know who we are when we're young. We really don't know. We are finding our way through this thing they call life. And then everything that is around us, everything that we see, hear, impacts us. And to be irresponsible as the media is more often than not, you know, it's shocking to me. It's shocking to me. And it leads, and a lot of these things, you know, lead to some of the topics that we have been covering on this show, like with Andy Berger from Voices Against Trafficking. All of these things could potentially be elements for that kind of a result happening to any one of us.
Yes.
One of us.
And, you know, around that same time as well, there were those rape cases that were, you know, and that one in particular at the college that I'm thinking of where, you know, it's the whole boys will be boys attitude, and the man gets a slap on the wrist, and it's, you know, the woman shouldn't ruin his life. But it's obvious that his behavior was, I don't even have words for it. You know,
and then ultimately the woman ends up to being the victim twice around, the victim because of the attack and the victim because of the way that the media portrays the situation. So, you know, how are we going to get through this, Debra?
Yes, exactly. Well, you know, okay, so here's the interesting part. There is a Native American proverb that says the highest calling of the woman is to lead a man to his soul so as to unite him with source.
Oh, say that again.
The highest calling of the woman is to lead a man to his soul so as to unite him with source. And if I can, all right, so this next part might be a little bit triggering, but I'm going to say the whole proverb, but hear me out on this because I have an interesting point to make about it that I make in the book. The lowest calling of the woman is to seduce a man, lead him astray, and leave him wandering. The highest calling of the man is to protect the woman so she is free to walk the earth unharmed. The lowest calling of the man is to ambush and force his way into the life of a woman. Now, whether you get triggered by that or not, what is obvious about it is that we are conditioned and have been conditioned to live in the lower expression, more so culturally, more so than the highest expression, where there is the seduction and leading astray and the ambushing, as opposed to where we are really created to be, which is the higher expression of the sacredness, the sacred temple, and that connection with and communion with source, really moving through the feminine to lead a man to his soul so as to unite with source, and the man being that which protects the temple. So the temple can walk the earth and really bring that light and that beacon and that connectivity with source into the world. And in the book, my mission in writing this book and goal is to help us to take some of the old stories and the patterning and reframe them so that we can get into the roots of it and see the masculine and feminine, whether you're talking about in relationship, in culture, in the collective of masculine and feminine, or in the inner masculine and feminine, to look at the relationships internally and externally, individually and collectively, and reframe it from the lower expression to the higher expression.
Yeah. I think that, I think that a lot of times people don't even recognize that there is a higher expression. We are so conditioned to stay in that space of not knowing, or the underneath the line, so to speak. If I can just paint a picture in my head, that we don't give ourselves a chance. Maybe something happened and we don't give ourselves a chance to rise above that, to be able to see the higher level of. I love this proverb that you have just said. I need a copy of it. I'm sure it's in the book somewhere.
It's in the book, yes.
Yeah. So I think that a lot of times, between the media, between the music, between the movies, between everything else that the world brings in, I think the sacred gets shoved out.
Totally. And it really is keying on that lower expression, seduction and ambush. I mean, explicitly. And I think there's a reason for that. It keeps us from tapping into our sacredness.
Yeah. And all that we can be, because I think that there are so many women, many women who are journeying a path to try and find out who they were created to be, what they are here for, what their purpose is, what their mission is, and how can they do it in such a way where there's not this degradation and the defamation of our own bodies to keep ourselves safe, as you say. So I think that this book will take us on a journey.
Absolutely. It does, because it looks at, and one of the key things that it looks at is it looks at the story of Adam and Eve, and specifically how it has been interpreted and applied to the culture. Because if you really look at that story, it's been interpreted in the lower expression. As the woman was seduced by the demonic forces and was weak, fell weak, and, doomed all of humankind to a life of pain and struggle. And, and then she led Adam astray and, seduced him, led him astray, left him wandering, got them banished from the garden. If you really look at the story and look at, what God made for humanity on this earth journey, and our opportunity that we have here. And, just the whole cycle of the human journey, there is a way to look at that and see it in a higher expression. And when you reframe that and say, what if we applied the higher expression of that story to the our who we are in this world?
Mm-hmm.
Then all of that has been imprinted as the woman is weak, the woman is easily seduced by demonic forces. I mean, that was the whole basis of the witch trials.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when we had the witch trials, is there were things that could not be explained that were happening, you know, plagues and illnesses and weather patterns and everything else. And there was a science couldn't explain these things. And so there was an assumption that the women were being seduced by demonic forces, and therefore they were called witches and needed to be burned at the stake. That was the only way, apparently, that they believed at that time. And that goes back to the story of Adam and Eve. There's so many things in our, you know, of a woman being property, of a woman being, you know, a man needing to lord over a woman. For a long time, abuse of women was not even considered a crime. It was just a man's need to keep his wife in line, because that was the role that was expected. And she was, you know, so even, you know, I mean, in the book, it talks statistics about crimes and about victimization of different forms of abuse. And, you know, there was a long time that wasn't considered a crime.
Yeah. Hold your thought, Deborah. We have to go to a break, but we're going to come back. I want to talk a little bit more about this this biblical story, the Adam and Eve story, because we're going to go back to that. But in the meanwhile, I want to encourage everybody who's listening, be sure you go to Amazon and get yourself a copy of Fear, Food, and Feminine Power. I got faith on the brain today. We'll be right back. And we're back with Debra Graugnard. We're talking about her book, Fear, Food, and Feminine Power. And we're talking about the story of Adam and Eve. And, you know, when I think about the Bible story, God created Eve as a helper for Adam. And so a lot of women think that, you know, Adam was superior to Eve in that garden, but the way that it's written, it doesn't necessarily mean that. It means, yes, God took a rib from Adam and created Eve. He created Adam from dust, and he created Eve from his rib as a helper for him. So what I read that to be is writing this story together. We are together. We are a united, we have a united purpose, right? And how it went wrong the way that it did, and what you bring forth is really interesting to me in relationship to what is being taught, or what people are assuming is being taught. But until you actually study, you don't know. And that's where you are. You've studied this, and you've brought forth some things that are that we may be dealing with today, you know, that is a result of what happened so many years ago. Isn't that always the culmination of things? We have to make sense of what we had no control over. Right.
Yeah, well said. And, you know, it's just, I'm always a little bit just want to say, you know, as I talk about the things that I believe, if it brings up questions for you, or you don't believe it, then, you know, listen to your heart, of course. But like when human beings came to Earth, there is you know, I studied with a Sufi teacher from Jerusalem for a number of years. And there was a saying that when God spoke to the collective of humanity, and when it's still in the spirit realms, and God asked everything in creation, who wants to manifest with this thing called free will? And everything in creation said, oh, no, not me. I could not imagine a better existence other than one completely aligned with the will of God. The human being said, well, we'll give that a shot. We'll try it out. And so human beings came to manifest on the earth with free will, which basically means that we forget and we perceive ourselves as disconnected from God's will. We forget. And then we test the boundaries of all the laws of nature. That's how we can
boy,
live.
do we test them.
Yeah,
boy,
right?
do we test them.
Yes, exactly. And we have to forget what they are in order to test them, right? And so the teachings say that God put 3 things into the human being to make us, to like really instill us into the density of our bodies and into the ecosystem of the earth and make us forget. And that first was just the need to eat and defecate. So that puts us into the earth ecosystem. The desire to make, love, and procreate, which then puts us in relationship with each other and all of the things that go, our challenges with relationship, but also furthering the population. And then the desire to individuate and be successful. And if you look at any, what do you call it? New Year's resolution, right? We're coming up on New Year's. You look at your New Year's resolutions, they all have to do with either, food and your health or your relationships or success, and career, money, those kind of things, whether it's bringing them together or pulling them apart, or making them better in some way. So we're on this intentional journey in that way. And if you really look at the story of Adam and Eve, it actually lays out all of those things. The other thing that it was so important about that story is that this, even though Adam and Eve were told, don't do this one thing, or don't eat from this tree, don't do what they did, there's, in the free will, in the forgetting, we're going to test the boundaries, and in testing the boundaries, we make mistakes.
Yes.
And we're not meant, none of us ever, not male, not female, not Adam, not Eve, not anybody, is meant to be doomed to the fate of the mistake forever. We're meant to find the truth of who we are.
Yeah.
Through making the mistakes and then returning. So when Eve went to God and said, hey, we did what you told us not to do, we made this mistake, God taught them that forgiveness is here. All you have to do is recognize that you made the mistake and come and say, hey, whoops, we made this mistake. Help us to return. And the asking is for us.
Yeah.
Because the forgiveness is already there.
Yeah.
The asking is to help us to receive.
Yeah.
And all of that is laid out in that story. But we focus on the mistake and the sin, and we spiral that into a downward spiral into the depths of that lower expression. And we stay there.
Yeah. And that's where it all turns to whatever.
Right. Right.
But
it's time for us to come back from that and to recognize who we are, the higher expression of the male and the female, the higher expression of the archetypal masculine and feminine. That feminine is that state of being, that state of receptivity, that state of connection. That is that quiet, still place that you go to in meditation, where you really need to return and to settle and to commune with source and with truth and with higher light.
Right.
The masculine is that moving out into the world and doing. So that feminine is, when you talk about being a helper, it's that which returns, that the masculine can return to decompress, to clear out all of the stresses of being out in the world and to reconnect, reunite. So, on the inner, on the archetypal, and on the physical and in relationship, it's mirrored in all of those ways.
Yeah. So interesting. So interesting. I've never really looked at the Adam and Eve story from that and to that depth and in that standpoint. So tell me about the food part of this whole thing. How you you so graciously and effortlessly can put out the information there about how we go into this state of fear with everything that you've talked about so far. What's the deal with the food?
Yeah. Well, I love it
And I ask this because this is a journey that I have been on for most of my life, you know, and I think that there are a lot of people who have the same thing. Food, in my perception, food is can help soothe these emotions, these fears. Food also can be something that people have to avoid in order to be able to. So you got, I call it the ABCs: anorexia, bulimia, compulsive overeating, and whatever else goes along with that, in order to be able to cope with whatever it is that has you with the fear factor.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And food, you know, it's one of those things. Okay, everybody needs food, so it can like creep up on you subtly. You don't recognize you're having a problem. It's not like, you know, oh, I'm drinking or I'm taking a drug or I'm, you know, getting into gambling or debt or anything like that, or other addictions and compulsions, because we need food. I was blessed. My father is a baker. A third generation French baker. So
is he still baking? Is he still baking?
Oh, yes, ma'am.
God bless him.
Yes, he still is. Yes. And so, I mean, I think that's another reason why when I, you know, started writing this book, then the universe brought me back to live with my dad, because I got to live in my childhood home, in my childhood bedroom, and with a baker who wants to bake all the time and eat sweets all the time. And I hadn't been living that way for 36 years before I came back home. And so I was like, oh, I got to go through it all again. But
with a new perspective, though.
Well, yeah, kind of. I mean, yes, absolutely, from more awareness, but also I went through a period of like, all of the urges came back, and it's like I could see myself, and part of me didn't even want to control it. You know, like I just was ready. Yeah. Anyway, it was a whole like, okay, here we get to do it all over again, but learning from it this time. Getting really into the intricacies of what's going on. But food, I think, is particular, because when you think about when you are in the womb, you are being held in a snug container. We really talk about the metaphysical vibrations of the womb as a microcosm of the macrocosm of creation as well. But when a child is in the womb, they're being fed and sustained through the umbilical cord. It's completely passive, and you're being held. There is a beautiful story that I tell in the book about a young girl that I worked with years ago, who was 6.5 years old at the time and remembered being in the womb. She told her mom she liked being in the womb because when you're in the womb, you can go back. You can go back and ask questions when you get scared, she said. And her mom said, "You really?" She says, well, you got scared? What happened? And she says, well, Mom, you get to see everything. So they show you a movie of your whole life before you come here. And Mom says, really? And it's scary? Well, you know, she says, well, if you didn't like it, can you change it? And the little girl says, no, Mom, it's not like that. You see, God has it all worked out. And you have to come here. It's like going to school and you have lessons. And she says, really? She says, well, do you remember the movie? And this is a priceless part right here. She says, no, Mom, that would be like going on a treasure hunt when you already know the treasure.
Oh my goodness. And she was 6.5 years old?
Yes.
Oh Lord, that is so great.
Isn't that amazing? And here's the thing. So she remembered being in the womb and she remembered that connection, but still didn't remember the movie. So she was experiencing here in this life, getting scared, but also remembering that once upon a time when she was in the womb, she got scared, but she still had that connection and could go back and ask questions. So that when you're in the womb, let me get back to that story, you're being passively fed through an umbilical cord. When you are born into this world and that umbilical cord is cut, now you're, you know, in a sense, you can be held, you can be snug, you can be, you know, contained. but that first thing that you want to do is suckle. Now you have to like latch on, you have to be nurtured, you have to be held, and you're close to the heart when you're suckling and you're being fed and so the whole nurturing, nourishing, sustaining, all of that gets very much intertwined. Right. And so that times where we feel unsafe, it's so natural to want to go back to that, also feeling disconnected from our bodies. Putting food into our bodies helps us to reconnect with earth, reconnect with our bodies, feeling that fullness, feeling, just some sense of connection to our grounding centers, when it doesn't feel safe to be in our bodies. So food has so many different, and I actually identify in the book 5 subconscious belief patterns that we uncovered that come up. And I know we're about to go to a break again, right?
Yes.
You're looking. Okay. So
yes.
I'll save those. Actually you can read the book for those, but there's 5 subconscious, 5 subconscious beliefs that keep us looping in those patterns of discontent and not recognizing what we're doing or not able to break those patterns. So we go over those in the book too.
Yeah, we'll touch on a couple of them. Somebody in the chat says they love this. They love your mind and your wisdom and how you put this all together. So yeah, thank you for that comment. I love your mind and your wisdom too. Otherwise we wouldn't have this conversation. It's awesome. It brings us into places where we might not know that we really can go for information, education, and healing from whatever it is that keeps us into these patterns that we have created in order to be able to survive, basically, right?
Right.
So, yeah. And on that, we're going to go to a break and we're going to come back and continue the conversation with Debra Graugnard. Remember, go to Amazon, get the book, Fear, Food, and Feminine Power. We'll be right back. And we're back. I just want to tell everybody about the Daily Gift book series. First one, gratitude. Second one, hope. Yes, these are on Amazon. And so is a daily gift of kindness and a daily gift of peace. And now we have the newest daily gift of friendship. Yay, Debra's got her copy too. Yeah, so be sure to go and get your copies. Some of them are still on sale for $10 each. Great Christmas gift for people. So the other thing I wanted to say, the Daily Gift Book Series is just one way that we get out there together and tell our stories. The other way is through the Grateful Hearts community. If you go on Facebook and look for Grateful Hearts Community Group, you'll see we're playing the gratitude game in there right now. Like gratitude A to Z, finding something with the letters of the alphabet each day to take you out of the box of being in a rut of being thankful for the same thing over and over again. Let that gratitude muscle grow. So we have somebody asking, since I talked about the CARITAS method, somebody wants to talk about that. So shall we go there?
Sure.
Let's do that.
Okay. So I pronounce it CARITAS.
CARITAS.
It might be CARITAS. It's actually in the Latin, it means love and compassion. And it is a 7-step process. The book has, introduction, about, and conclusion, but it's all in between there. It's got 7 chapters, and each chapter introduces a step of the CARITAS healing process. Mm-hmm. And it's a 7-step process that takes us from getting clarity about just what our distresses are, what are the things that we're uneasy with, what is it inside of us that's calling for healing. Mm-hmm. And it takes through a step-by-step process. It's really looking at, okay, you mentioned the Serenity prayer. What's within my power to change and what is not?
Right, exactly.
And, and also looking at where's the mercy? Because there's mercy in everything. And even in our compulsive eating, in the foods that we eat, in our addictions and in everything, there is mercy that is helping us to get through a time where we feel unsafe, where we feel disconnected, where we feel ungrounded, where we feel, and we don't know what else to do at the time or how to do it differently or how to maintain a change. Right. Mm-hmm. when it's time, I say this in the book, everything is a form of mercy. And when it's time for us to make a change, the form of mercy changes. Like in my case, I actually had a traumatic experience in college. At the end of my college years, I was held gunpoint in a bank robbery. And about a month later, I was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis, but what was happening inside my body was right where this gun had been shoved in my back. I was experiencing excruciating back spasms and internal bleeding.
Wow.
And though the gun had not gone off, energetically, it was going off on a daily basis, and It was exploding inside. And so that's what really was a turnaround for me. Prior to that, I'd had fibrocystic disease and hypoglycemia, which are all things they say, oh, people get those, you just live with them, just do this, just do that. The ulcerative colitis was more severe. And they just said, oh, well, again, people get it, you live with it, and just don't eat any foods with fiber, no raw fruits, no raw vegetables. And, eat white bread, not wheat bread, eat potatoes, things like that. And take steroids for the rest of your life. And that manages the symptoms if you're lucky. I did that for a little while. And then it just, by the grace of God, a light bulb went off in me and said, no, there is another way. And by the way, there's a gun still in your back. So that led me on, number one, cleaning up my diet and everything. So, so recognizing also the wisdom of the body. And how incredibly wise the body is. There is a section in the book called Navigating the Journey, and it's all about the navigation system of your earth vehicle, your earth ship that you're walking around in here. There are signs and signals that your body is giving you all the time. And that's, this realization of this vessel that you have and the signals that it gives you and the incredible, incredible wisdom. Your body's not broken. It's just speaking to you. It's speaking to you and it's guiding you. So if that's one of the parts of the book, that realization of the vessel and the wisdom in it and how it speaks to you. And when it's time for you to make a change, that form of mercy changes. These light bulbs start going off. You start recognizing things. You start recognizing, well, oh, that's not working for me anymore. And I really got to do something different for myself. And the signals are there. So that's like the third step of the process, is having that recognition. And then there's, what I call the journey to the center of yourself, to really illuminate what's true for you. That place, we tend to live from the outside, from our reactions and from our responses and from the disconnect and the discomfort. But when there's a very specific pathway that we follow to really tap into what's real, what's true, and it illuminates the core light of what's true for you, what's real for you. And it gets us into that, who are you? The question of who are you? And then we has a phase of transformation, and where as I say, the knower becomes that which is known. And then an assimilation, right? We're going through the CARITAS, the clarify, the assess, the realize, the illuminate, the transform, the transformation, where the knower becomes that which is known through like a vibrational shift in the field. And then an assimilation, really assimilating knowledge from heart, head, and your state of being, which really takes us into that the feminine state of being who you're here to create, being returning into that communion with source, to really be in that state of receptivity and that state of being, and moving then from that place. And when you tap into that connection, and you assimilate that vibrational shift throughout your body, mind, and heart and spirit, and you can move from that place, then that is when the S stands for sovereignty. That is when we can recognize sovereignty from the pulls of the material world and that lower expression. Recognize ourselves in that higher expression. And, it doesn't mean there won't ever be things that pull us back into that lower expression, but we recognize those things, when you come into that vibrational shift and you assimilate that through all the parts of your being, those things don't have the same pull on you anymore. Like you come into a state of knowing, and that's where the sovereignty comes in.
I love that. Clarify, assess, realize, illuminate, transform, assimilate to sovereignty.
Yes.
Powerful, powerful stuff. If it were that easy as just saying the words, but the bottom line is that you got to do the work. You got to do the work that goes along with it. Speaking of which, you have a course that goes along with this. Yes?
I do. Yes.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit about that, Debra.
Okay. Yes. That course it's a powerful course. You mentioned at the beginning in my bio that I incorporate embodiment practices in with the spirituality, which is, I think, what makes, this course, it combines my 20 years of study with a spiritual teacher, my intuitive healing and chaplaincy and all of that experience with the embodiment practices and the mystical, metaphysical, if you will, of the vibration, the vibration shift and the embodiment to really help you to be the change you wish to see in your world, but really to become who you are created to be. And meanwhile, we're peeling away all of those things that were the misperceptions and the lies that we've been told and the, all of this stuff that's been so subtly imprinted into us.
Yeah.
So we're peeling all of that away and really tapping into that core, because everybody's got a little bit different of an essence, right? So you want to tap into your core essence. What did God put in you that is so incredibly beautiful and special to you and unique to you, that is, your expression of divinity in the world? Tapping into that is what, that's like, tapping that tuning fork and that where we really resonate and light up and being that. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. And that course is going to help to bring us back to that sacred space of who we are created to be. It's so funny when you said become who you're created to be. I actually wrote a book called Become Who You Are Created.
I love it.
Yeah. It's mostly a journal, but it's little tools along the way. But yours sounds much more involved and much more has a lot of depth in it, that you help to bring forth the places where you need to go in order to be able to rediscover yourself. Yes.
And the beauty of doing it in a group, even though we do it online, I've done this before a number of times, and we do it in a way where we still have a level of witnessing and connection online. There is, how many times have you healed something and then you go out and you're around people and that judgment comes at you and you revert back to that same place of, So what we're doing when we're doing the practices in group is we're retraining the nervous system to not go into retreat when those criticisms come, but actually to be reaffirmed and to be repatterned with a mirroring and acknowledgement of that core truth of who you are.
Core truth of who you are. Yeah. I think I feel I'm still in my head. I'm back with that 6.5-year-old girl, knowing that life is a school and just inherently knowing through her communication during the time in the room and probably afterward. And, for people who think that this is not possible, just look up Akayan Kazmarek and look at her paintings. She came to this earth with an incredible ability to paint. And at 9 years old, she painted a painting called The Prince of Peace. Wow. And she kept saying, God kept telling her, paint the picture, paint the picture, paint the picture. And she says, well, I have nobody to sit for the picture. And then somebody came to the door, a carpenter, no less, picture of Jesus. She's supposed to be painting. Wow. Carpenter comes to the door. She asks him to sit for the picture. She paints the picture exactly as she sees him. He leaves, never comes back. Nobody ever knew who he was. Nobody ever knew who he was. So I believe that stuff like that happens all the time. And then when that 6.5-year-old girl is knowing who she is inherently, but they didn't get the end of the movie, that's the experience we call life. And we take all the things with us. We'd have everything we need to get through, I believe, the judgment and all the criticisms and everything else that bring us to places where we might not want to go, like dive into the food when you don't feel good or whatever. Ask me how I know this.
Right.
And yet we know that there are ways to handle it a little bit differently because the Creator is always with us. Yeah. And I think that your course, although I haven't seen it yet, keyword, I haven't seen it yet. I believe that based on this conversation alone, that course will help people to really come back to who they were created to be.
That is the deep prayer.
Yeah.
And if I can just say, it is time for women, with where we are collectively in our journey of humanity, right? In the collective of humanity, it's like looking at that archetypal for the woman to come into the truth and reality of who we are, to create, to like wake up that conduit so that the masculine can return to commune with source. And it's two parts of one whole coming back together to commune with source, to be in that higher expression of masculine and feminine, and to be able to live in unity. And it's time.
It's time. And how brave of you to say that in this time that there is such an upheaval in the earth and the spiritual realm, that we can come to someone like you who knows, someone like me who is learning, but at the same time, I know that there are things to come that are better than what we see here now. But how brave to say it's time that we do this work, because it's time we do this work. Yeah. Debra, we have 1 minute left. How can people get in touch with you? Where did this hour go? Can people get in touch with you? And besides going to Amazon to get the book, how can they get involved in your course?
Go to fearfoodfemininepower.com. fearfoodfemininepower.com. Okay. There is information about the books, links on how to get the book. There's also a link to the program there, and just other ways that you can get started.
Awesome.
Be sure to get on my mailing list at the very least. And get the book, sign up for the program, but get on the mailing list so that you can be notified of other things that are coming on.
Other things that are going on, other things that are coming. And also, she also has another book I'm going to recommend to you, When We Were Silent. And
While We Were Silent.
While We Were Silent. Yeah. And there's a lot of information and a lot of stories in here that speak to trauma. So
yeah. That's specifically about healing from sexual trauma.
Yes. She's an author. She's a speaker. She's a coach. She's a friend. And I'm grateful to have you here on the show today. Thank you for all you've brought to the conversation. And thank all of you for being present. Make sure that all the conversations that you have, even the ones with yourself, are making a difference in the world. And we'll speak to you next time. Have a great day, everybody. Bye.
That brings us to the close of another episode of Conversations That Make a Difference with host Teresa Velardi. We want to sincerely thank you for tuning in and sharing your time with us today. Our greatest hope is that today's discussion inspired your personal growth, encouraged you to share your unique gift, and gave you the courage to write your own magnificent story. If this message resonated with you, let's keep the conversation going. Take a moment to like, comment, and subscribe on YouTube, and follow us on our Conversations That Make a Difference Facebook page. This will ensure you never miss a moment of inspiration. We air new episodes every Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. It truly helps us reach and empower more people. Until next time, keep making a difference. We look forward to welcoming you back next Tuesday to our next conversation.